Good afternoon, friends. My name's Justin. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I play guitar on songs in Nashville, and today I wanted to talk about a couple things I have from Throbak electronics that I get a lot of mileage out of. The first thing is the Overdrive boost. I've had that pedal for 12 years, more? I'm not even sure. It sounds so great in so many different contexts, and the thing that I use it the most for is for just sounding like a little more of my amp. You guys, if you've watched this channel, you know that I like to run my amps on the edge of breakup. I like to control how much dirt I get just in my right hand attack. And in order to do that, the amp's got to be cooking to the extent that hitting the strings hard gives me a bit of breakup, and then playing clean just gives some sparkle with like some just barely edge of breakup, kind of jangly stuff, right? Well, because I use my amp in that setting, I tend to favor pedals that do a really good job of pushing the front end of the amp. And that's what this does. It pushes the front end of the amp so well that to my ears, when it's on and I turn the knobs and change the settings on the pedal, it feels like I'm changing the settings on my amp. And I think that's really great. And it works with all my amps. Like I've never put it in front of an amp and thought, I don't like it. It's really, really versatile. It's got some higher gain fuzz sounds. It's based on the old Color Sound Power Boost, which also went by the name Overdriver, Color Sound Overdriver. That was used in the 70s by like David Gilmour and Jeff Beck, and you know, one of the early awesome pedals that everybody used. But this has some extra features. So it's got gain, bass, treble, and a master volume. It kind of acts like a master volume amp, you know. And then you've got a pre-gain switch. Before I bought it, I thought, okay, I can use it on rhythm sounds with the pedal on and then step on the pre-gain switch for a solo. It's a little more subtle than that. I still get a lot of mileage out of it because I record for a living, and you know, all my amps, whether I'm working at some other studio or if I'm here, I've got a microphone or two like that far from the speaker. So everything's under a microscope, and subtle changes tend to have discernible results when you're paying attention in a mix, okay? So I still get a good amount of use out of it. I can't use it as like a solo boost. It doesn't add, like a solo boost to me, you want like an extra dB or two of gain. And I haven't fiddled with the internal trim pots. I think I did a long time ago, but I put it back where it was when it came from the factory. So anyway, that's a feature that I do still get some mileage out of. And then the other thing that's really cool is this little switch. It's pointed to your left, to my right. So the left setting, pointed this way, that's the original Color Sound circuit, apparently. 3 silicon transistors. And then when you flip it the other way, there is a germanium transistor and a germanium diode that are added to it that give it this really, I don't know, just that cool compressed fuzz sound that's a little like spitty, you know? I'm not totally sure how to describe it, but you'll know it when you hear it. So let's get to the pedal in a minute. I told you I had two things from Throbak that I really like and use all the time. The other thing that I bought from them, and I've had these for years. I don't know how many years. These P90s. These are the 55, 56 Throbak P90s. And I have a bit of a history with this guitar. I sold it years ago. I was trying to fund the purchase of a 50, like an early 50s goldtop from another guitar player in town. And he told me it was mine, and you know, he'd send it for me to check out. And so I sold a couple things to help pay for it, because even though it had like a headstock repair, it was still really expensive. It's still a 50s Gibson, right? Well, I sold the stuff to pay for it, and then he sold it to his guitar to somebody else. Like they had something to trade him that he really wanted, and I was like, oh my goodness, I just I just got rid of some really nice stuff to make room for that. I guess I'm still a little salty about that. That's okay though. So I ended up getting this guitar back. A few years after that happened, I texted the guy that I sold this to, Mike Britt, and I said, hey, do you still have that gold top I sold you? And he texted me back immediately, and he goes, yeah, do you want it? I'll sell it back to you for what I paid for it. And I was like, you're kidding. Perfect, I'll take it. So got it back from him. And, you know, the whole time that I'd had it before, and when he had it, it just had the Gibson P90s. And Gibson only makes one P90. They don't do like an underwound neck pickup and then a hotter bridge or hum canceling in the middle or anything like that. They just slap two of their P90s in the guitar and away it goes. It's kind of how it's always been, I think. And contrary to popular belief, the Gibson P90s are hard to beat. They really are. They sound awesome. And I just think that I was looking for a little more balance out of the two of them without having to constantly be working the volume controls. I wanted to go to the middle position and not feel like the neck pickup was just taking over completely, you know, without having to roll its volume down or whatever. So I took a chance on the Throbak stuff. I had this pedal and I was like, you know, that sounds like that old Color Sound Overdriver. So maybe his pickups sound like old pickups, you know. And turns out that is exactly the case. So these are the 55, 56 pickups. I'll play some guitar with just through the amp. I'm going into my Analog Outfitter Sarge like I often do on the channel. It's running into a Morgan 112 open back cab with an ET65 speaker in it. I have a Heil PR30 microphone. Running into a Chandler TG2, into the Apollo Twin. Yes, they play well together, into Pro Tools. So, yeah, I don't have anything on. So that's just the bridge pickup, neck pickup. And then middle position. Remember how I told you I like running on the edge of breakup? So I can dig in, or I can clean it up just with my right hand attack. So you can hear how there's kind of just a whole range of tones just from the pickups and your right hand and a good amp on the edge breakup. Okay, so let's turn on the overdrive boost. I've got everything at noon-ish. Let's go to noon here. Except the master volume, I tend to run a little hotter because I want to hit the front end of the amp a little harder. And Unity, I feel like I get a bit of a drop when I have the master volume at noon, so. I have no idea what I'm playing. But I can still get it to clean up a little just by playing lighter. Sounds killer. So I tend to run it in a setting something like that, you know. It just sounds like more of the amp. Here's off again. And here's pre-gain. Off, on, off, on, off, on. The LEDs aren't super bright, so that's such a subtle change that using it live, like at a festival or something where you've got sunlight on your board, it's kind of like good luck figuring out if that's on. You kind of got to toggle it, and then you're like, oh, okay, it's on or off. Yeah, the LEDs aren't super bright, but I like that too because, man, some pedals, it just seems like they went for the brightest white LED possible, or blue, real bright blue as well. Those are actually damaging to your eyes, you know? And I appreciate that it's not like just, you know, fatiguing my eyes while I'm playing it. So yeah, I mean, it makes a bit of a difference. Let's get into some high gain. Turn the bass up. Nice and fuzzy. Big old noise floor too, right? If I back it way down. Again, noise floor. Let's switch to the setting that adds the germanium stuff. It adds a transistor and a diode. A little bit of a volume drop, and then it gets this like... when you roll it back, it's sparklier, not super, doesn't get super clean like a fuzz face or something, but just for reference, let's go back to the other setting. Back to the germanium. It's super cool. So, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's see, 2 o'clock, maxed, 9 o'clock, maxed, pre-gain on, germanium mode. Silicon mode. That's pretty woofy. It's kind of a, you know, I mean, it doesn't sound like a big muff, but I would use that sound when I would normally reach for a big muff pedal, but I was kind of like, I've done that a lot. Let's try to find something else that does a wrong version of that, you know? Like sometimes that's my headspace, right? See how it sounds with the treble all the way up and the bass off. Boy, that's where a lot of that noise comes from, isn't it? So, there's one other way to use this pedal that I never ever used, but in preparation for this video, I went online and looked at the manual, and the manual states that if you set the pedal with a super low setting on the master volume and have your bass cranked up all the way in the side that includes the germanium transistor, you can basically get an attenuator type setting out of the pedal. So I'm going to crank my amp and have it kind of, not necessarily like all the way up, but past the edge of breakup, past where I normally set it. And then we're going to use this to try to clean it up. mean, that sounds awesome. Again, that's guitar and amp. There's no pedals or anything on. So here's the attenuated. So that's cool. You can still hear the germanium kind of squish and compression in it. It does sound like it's an amp with some sag in the tone, right? And it's a lot quieter. I'm sure that if I were sitting here with a deluxe reverb turned way up and running with that pedal into it at the quieter settings, that yeah, it feels like tubes are working, right? Put a little bit of reverb on from the Boss 63 Spring. Yeah, it gets pretty woofy, but I think you can kind of change these things to taste, you know. Turn a little bit of the bass down. What about in silicon mode? That sounds the most natural to me so far. I can still get all the dynamics, you know, but it's a lot quieter than the amp. I mean, if the speaker cab were in here with me, that would be ultra loud, and it would be nice to have a makeshift attenuator. As with everything that I talk about on this channel in terms of gear or, you know, just stuff that I'm using, I want to use it in context, like in the context of my job. So I'm going to put my amp back on the setting that I normally use, and then I'll turn this back to a setting I normally use and play on this track that I've got dialed up here. So I've got this track dialed up, and it's sort of it's a 6/8 kind of soulful thing, key of F, and I want to use this as sort of an obnoxious the gain, the way it decays. That's awesome. It's really cool. Okay, let's see what happens here. Let's play the chords correctly. I don't have my chart for this, so I'm just kind of going by memory. it's just a great, obnoxious, garagey tone, you know? And I already showed you that I get great low gain, cleanish sounds. The EQ works so well. It's just a really awesome pedal. Really awesome pedal. I would, you know, I would recommend it to anybody. It's so different than what your typical overdrive pedals are, because it's really this fuzz thing that also works at really low gain settings, works really well and does something different. And then with the added flexibility of the pre-gain switch and the switch that adds the germanium transistor and diode to it, it's super versatile. And it sounds like $1 million. So I've got links in the description if you want to order one. No extra cost to you. I'll make a little bit of money off of those links. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you later.